I want to work in fashion. Where should I start? This is a question I get all the time. So in this video, I'm going to break down the different jobs in fashion because it's a big world. There's lots of different jobs that require different skill sets. The first one, the one that everyone thinks about, is being a fashion designer. Firstly, if you're a brand owner like myself, you're more of a CEO than a fashion designer. So that takes a whole different skill sets, managing people, managing orders, growing a business, etc. If you're an actual trained designer and you work for a brand and all you do is design, that might not be what you think it is either. Most designers that I know, they work in very limited fields or very small scope. Like a guy I know, he designs for Ralph Lauren, but all he does is cut and sew knits for kids. So literally t-shirts, Henleys, only that category and only for kids. And most of his job is making tech packs, which is very technical. They're making the measurements and all the little specifics and the blueprints that the factory uses to make the garments, making sure that's all very clear and kosher. A designer works very closely with a buyer. Even within one brand, there's designers and buyers, because the designer's job is to be creative and create products that are within the brand's scope and ethos. And the buyer's the one that actually selects the designs that they think they can actually sell to customers. So those are different jobs. One is creative and one is more financial planning, looking back at past sales and making projections for the future. A designer also works very closely with a sample maker, because when you come up with a design, the first thing you want to do is make a sample, make a first version of that garment. A sample maker is one of the highest paid and highest qualified person in all of fashion, because they can actually make a garment from an idea, from scratch, into something for the first time. And then they can help you move it to production, where they can break it down into steps so that a factory can recreate it in different sizes, different colors, different fabrics, etc. When a garment gets approved by the sample maker, it then moves to a factory. And a factory is a behemoth of an operation with its own executives, its own managers, sewers, obviously. So in a factory setting itself, there are a lot of different jobs. Once the garments leave the factory and go to the stores where the buyer selected them, now you get into merchandising. Now you're at the store level. So obviously there's retail people, but there's also stylists and merchandisers who dress the mannequins and make the store look beautiful. Beyond that, there's the aftermarket of clothing. So there are people like tailors who do alterations or refurbishments and fixes. And then, of course, there's a whole secondary market where there's resale and thrift stores and consignment, and even recycling has its own huge business, especially now with the push for renewable fibers. Or you can be more of a merchant, buying and selling. You can own a store or be an eBay hustler. That's how I got started. That's how I learned about clothing, learned how to sell them, how to market them, how to style them. It's also how I figured out that my best skill set was styling things and putting them together for people. And this is something that people really struggle with.